time to get your fix. Come on down, get your horrible gaming review. 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 Wow.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and welcome to another horrible game review. As usual, before we get into it, a few disclaimers. Number one, the word horrible in the title of this content does not refer to the game or DLC that I am reviewing, but the actual content itself. I do snap judgment reviews here. I get 5 to 10 hours, sometimes more, sometimes less, with a game, and I'm just trying to tell you whether you're going to enjoy it right off the bat or not. That being said, coupled with the fact that I believe video games are one of the most subjective forms of art, I will not be giving you a score for this review. Instead, I will tell you the overview of what the game is. I'll tell you the pros and the cons of the game from my point of view, as all reviews are. And then I will tell you whether I will be sticking with this game outside the purposes of this review or not. So, all of those out of the way, let's get into it. Today, I am reviewing Nintendo Switch's new 3D platformer, Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. So this is the first time Kirby has really stretched his legs into the 3D space. A lot of people are comparing this to Mario Odyssey. I never really got to play a ton of Mario Odyssey. I didn't necessarily feel those vibes here, but we'll get into that. In any case, what happens in this game is very simple. There's not a whole lot of story. I mean, this is a Kirby game. Basically, Kirby is in Waddle Dee Town, just hanging out. A huge portal opens up in the sky, sucks the Waddle Dees and him through the portal, and he ends up in this weird post-apocalyptic world that looks very akin to ours. However, all the writing is strange and weird, and I'm kind of looking forward to hopefully that mystery being unraveled. I don't know if it will or not. In any case, the Waddle Dees are also here, and they've been kidnapped by these strange crows in cages, and Kirby must take it upon himself to rescue them. Basically, what this game is you go into a level. That level, just clearing it, gives you, I think, 3 Waddle Dees, and then there's different challenge tasks that you can do along the level, as well as hidden Waddle Dees to find to collect more Waddle Dees from that level. Those Waddle Dees then return to what's called Waddle Dee Town, which basically the Waddle Dees band together and they start rebuilding a town. As you collect more Waddle Dees, the town will get bigger, it will get more buildings and more amenities to help Kirby, rescue more Waddle Dees. That's really the crux of this game. It's very much like boilerplate on that level. You go in, there's a certain number of things you need to do to get all the things, and then you try and clear that level 100%. As you do, it unlocks more parts of the game. The bosses, each boss is locked behind a certain number of Waddle Dees rescued, but that is pretty hard to not have just getting to the boss in the first place. Then we move to the copy abilities. Kirby has his signature, suck in the enemies and copy their powers. Now, all the enemies give you powers, but a good percentage of them do, and there are a ton of copy abilities in this game. Those copy abilities are really interesting to play with. They definitely change the mechanics of the game, and also you have to have certain ones equipped in order to unlock certain things in certain areas. So timing with the copy abilities is everything. Though I will say this game is really good at always putting what you need right next to what you need it for. You're never gonna feel like, I didn't suck in the flame guy, at the beginning of the map, so I can't do the lantern now. There'll be a flame guy right next to the lantern, without a doubt. Combat is crisp and very Kirby-ish. It almost falls into like a beat-em-up kind of feel to it. Most enemies taking a few hits, and you have to kind of like do a combo on them almost. Just about with every ability you have, which I found interesting, unlike a lot of other games where you're just jumping on something's head or just hitting it once and knocking it away. This is much more like fighty, I guess would be the way to say it. Probably not the way to say it, probably much better. I do want to say I got much more time with this game than I usually do. This game came out right before I went on vacation. The only system we took was the Switch, so I actually got to play quite a bit of this game over the week. So I can give you kind of more of a full. I'm definitely over 40% done with the game, so I've definitely put in more than 5 hours on this thing. There is also a co-op mode. The co-op mode does not allow you to have 2 Kirbys on the screen, but instead a second player will play a Spear Waddle Dee. Basically, he has like this bandana on his head, and he's got a spear, and he's got his own set of powers. This is interesting. I have been playing the Spear Waddle Dee with my 5-year-old daughter. Actually, all the footage you're watching is from my daughter's game. She is playing Kirby. I am playing the Spear Waddle Dee. And it's not unfun. To call it a little brother mode, I wouldn't go that far, like Tails was in 2, where it just didn't really matter ever. It definitely, you can get some benefits out of playing the spear. He does a good chunk of damage. He has kind of his own little charge abilities depending on how you're charging to attack people. I will say there is some boring aspects to it. If it wasn't my 5-year-old daughter who I was playing with, who I had to basically direct through the level anyway, this would get a little bit boring. Just because you don't have those copy abilities, you don't have those things to really add to it, and that's kind of a little bit of a bummer. We'll get into that later, but yeah. Otherwise, the co-op is really easy. You can't play it right off the bat. You have to do the first level. Once the first level's done, you can bring a co-op person in whenever you want and drop them out whenever you want. It's very easy and very accessible. I mean, you couple that with a slew of mini games, such as the cafe in town, these little gacha things that you need to get the figurines, collectibles, and then of course you add in, there's even fishing. I just unlocked that on my own game. It takes a really long time to get it. I wish that had just been in the beginning, honestly, but yeah. There's a lot to do in Kirby. So let's get into the pros and cons. Let's get into this, because there's not a whole lot more to talk about. That basically just got described everything that you have to be here. Pro number 1. There's no bugs. This thing runs smooth as butter. I mean, to be expected from Nintendo. I mean, love or hate Nintendo, and I have had an up and down relationship with that company. They usually don't make buggy products, and this is just not a buggy product. It runs smoothly on the Switch in handheld or on docked mode. It absolutely looks great. There's no bugs, sound cutouts, or whatever. Everything is crisp. The hitboxing is great. The camera work on this, which sometimes Nintendo does fail, that is good. I really enjoy the play of this game. It is a joy and an ease to play, and that's something that I needed to call out, because even the games that I love the most, sometimes I'm in a corner, or sometimes the camera doesn't work with me, or sometimes I can't tell what's going on. With this one, it's never like that. It's an absolute butter to play, and that kind of harkened me back to my childhood. I mean, I know you gotta blow in the cartridge to get it to go, but once it went, it was a very easy process, and that's what I felt here. Pro number 2, you can play this with your kids. This is probably the most important pro on my list, even though I didn't name it first. There are so very few games you can play with young kids who don't understand gaming. I mean, if your kid picks it up fast, it's great. My kid is not always, but still is very interested in video games and wants to play, often having a problem with the controls, having a problem with that sort of thing. Kirby is very forgiving, which we're also going to talk about in the cons, but this game is very forgiving. There is a easy difficulty mode where you have just a huge amount of health. You can hit a ton to get through the level, but you can still see the level and experience it. I will say occasionally the hidden roads I've had to do for Stella, as well as occasionally she gets locked behind a certain number of Waddle Dees needed for a new feature, and I have to grind out the harder Waddle Dees for her. But she could literally go through every level by herself, at least so far, and that's really cool. She also needs help with the bosses, but still, she can enjoy this game when I'm not around, which is something that's really exciting. Plus, they give you all these nifty little things to do in town, such as once you get a house, you can sleep. She actually discovered that you could light your own fireplace if you had the firepower, which I never knew. There's also a bunch of stuff in the overworld that you can find just floating around. which, because she just floats around sometimes, I never do that. She found it. I didn't even know you could do that. Now I spend a lot of time floating around looking for hidden stuff. It is a good game. It is a great introductory game for kids, and I like those things. I'm much more aware of those things with Stella's age and me being a gamer and her interest in it. I'm much more aware of games that are actually accessible. And while Nintendo boasts that, they aren't always that, especially with the text-based talking and whatnot. And again, this does have text-based talking, but there's never a point where you feel like the talking is going to like cost her things. The game is very simple as far as the buttons go, so even if she doesn't read anything, she can still get the idea of it. I think this is a great introductory game for young kids trying to get into video games, especially since you have the co-op mode, the parent can play with you. Pro number 3, the graphic design on this is phenomenal. I was blown away by some of the just the multicolored levels, the different level design. I was blown away by some of the lights. There's an amusement park level, a level specifically called the Big Parade, I think, and it's just really pretty. It's really pretty, and it's very aesthetically pleasing to look at. I enjoyed that part of this game. I enjoyed being in those moments of colorful light. And it just flows really well, and you wouldn't expect that coming from a post-apocalyptic scenario. I was kind of weirded out by the post-apocalyptic scenario, honestly, but it's just perfect. Like it really, they found a way to make this just kind of look really beautiful, and I think it's a really interesting take on this series. It's a very interesting move on this series because you have these weird layers to the game. That I don't necessarily think all mascot platformers have. Definitely, it left me trying to figure out how to get to the mysteries, how to get into those mysteries. My next pro is the Mouthful Modes. So the Mouthful Mode is when Kirby tries to suck in something that is a little bit too big for him to swallow. Instead of swallowing it and taking the power or just eating it, he gains some sort of weird power. So he sucks in a car and he becomes kind of a car, or he sucks in this weird like circular thing and then he can use it to like make wind gusts. He sucks in a pipe and then he can roll. It's kind of crazy. I don't know who came up with this or came up with these ideas. There's all sorts of weird things he can suck in and turn into, and you would never think to use it in that way. So far, the weirdest one to me is these stairs. And there's so many levels where you have to use these stairs to get to different parts, and they're used so smart. They're used so intelligently to solve puzzles and to figure out how to get to new places, but I would never think to even suck in stairs. So, like, it's very creative how they put the thought they put into this stuff. Final pro is gotta be the powers, the copy abilities, and all the love and thought put into the copy abilities here. So there's just a ton of them. I think there's like 20 in the game that you can get. Once you've unlocked the copy ability, it actually goes to this Forge shop in the Waddle Dee Town, and you can, at any time when you start the game, you'll start in Waddle Dee Town, and you can just select which one you want to go into a game with, which is really cool, instead of having to worry about finding the right enemy. It also allows you to kind of like tackle a level in a different way, depending on who you go in there with. What's even cooler about this, though, is you can actually get blueprints which allow you to upgrade these abilities, and honestly there are a few of them that look almost completely and totally cosmetic. I don't know how they, like the tornado, I have yet to figure out how that does anything more than what the original tornado did, other than make you look more tornado-y, but still, I find myself wanting to upgrade them all just to see it, just to see what it does, and every one of these copy abilities feels different and fun. It changes the way you look at the level and the game, and they really did a great job with this. I love finding new blueprints to upgrade your things. There's one where literally your highest level of your flame power gives you Dragon Flame, which allows you to turn into this like purple dragon and fly around. It's just really handcrafted, really great, and just a ton of love and attention was put into those copy abilities, and it makes the game on a lot of levels. Like, it really does make the, like, oh my god, I just got this, look at what I can do with it, and you're always getting that new power and wanting to test it out, even if the difficulty isn't that great, which we'll get into now. In the cons. So let's talk about the biggest con. The biggest con, especially if you're an adult player, is the difficulty of this game. I mean, look, there's a give and take here. If you want this to be fun for your kids, if you want this to be easy for your kids, you're not going to have a hard time with it. There are 2 levels of difficulty in this. There's the wild mode and the spring breeze mode. I play on the wild mode, and I have died maybe 3 times. Maybe. I think it's only been twice. Very rarely do I die, and it's usually because I'm attempting to do some trick that I haven't figured out yet. It's hard to die in this. Like, you gotta go out of your way. That being said, I mean, and I know this is still in the cons, but it has to be. That being said, a lot of the fun of this game is figuring out the, like, tricks and the, like, little holes. It's much more of a collectathon if you're an adult player than worrying about actually taking damage. But still, it has to be known that if you're looking for a challenging game, if you're a Dark Souls player, walk away from this title. It's not for you. It's not going to challenge you in any way, shape, or form. The only thing challenging about this game is some of these Waddle Dees are hidden, or some of these tasks are real hidden and hard to figure out how to do them. Other than that, there's nothing challenging, really, about this game. My next con is obviously the co-op mode gets a little bit boring, a little bit stagnant if you're playing. And don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily think that there should have been 2 Kirbys on screen, but I think that there could have been some more upgrades for the bandana thing. I think that would have been possible to maybe put some other little abilities that they could collect, maybe even some sort of buff or buff that comes with each power that Kirby has. There should have been something more to tie in that bandana Waddle Dee's abilities so that they could get that same wonder and joy from playing it with somebody else that the Kirby player does. The Kirby player is just every second of the game, it's something new to look at and something new to be wowed by, whereas the bandana spear player just has to kind of experience the joy through the Kirby player's eyes. And while I get what's happening here, this is supposed to be kind of a little brother mode, I still think you should have given the spear players something, like some reason to really be helping Kirby in the first place. Like, would it be so hard that the spear bandana's spears light up with fire when they throw them if Kirby had the fire mode? You know, something along those lines would have been much nicer. It would also really help in fights because the spear bandana damage, while it's decent, it's locked. Never gets better, never gets worse. So I already fought a boss with Stella that was much harder to fight just because I can't do the damage that I need to do as the big hitter. So they could have really put in some sort of upgrade for that secondary spear player. And I know what you're thinking, well, they're not always playing, but it doesn't matter because the bandana guy's always in town, so if you were playing alone, you just kind of skip those upgrades until the end. So this really could have been in here. I think that they should have put just a little bit more love to the spear bandana player. Alright, let's wrap this up in a tight little bow. Am I going to stick with this? Yes, I love games like this. They are meditative. Yeah, it's not difficulty. It's not something that I'm going to be like really pushing myself like my playthroughs with Sifu. This is going to be something that I'm just having fun, collecting coins, saving Waddle Dees, and it's really nice and meditative like that. It really takes you back to like the Mario 64 days, the old ones, or Mario Galaxy, which was my all-time favorite mascot platformer before now. I think this might actually outgrade it. I love the direction they've taken this in, and I hope they stick with the 3D formula for Kirby, because while many other 3D, like 2D to 3Ds, have had a hard time switching, this one didn't. This one blends perfectly. It almost feels like Kirby's always been 3D. And so I'm very excited to see where this franchise goes from here. But until then, I'm very excited to 100% this game. I'm loving it. And I'm loving playing it with my daughter. So I hope that helps you guys. hope this helps you guys. Hope this helps make your decision as to whether you're going to pick this purchase up. In any case, either way, you can contact us on Facebook at OmegaDH, on Twitter at Omega9. You can join our Discord, links in the description below. Influence this and all of our shows from there. You can also comment, let me know, did I get it right, did I get it wrong, do you disagree, whatever. I love to hear from you guys, and until next time, as long as you keep watching, listen, we'll keep making them. See you guys next time.